Hello and welcome to Comedy in a Nutshell, the podcast that dives into what comedy really means to the people who live and breathe it. I'm your host, Marty Kano, and each episode I sit down with a comedian to explore their world, from finding their voice, shaping their persona, to the stories and experiences that keep them coming back to the mic. Because a journey of 1,000 gigs starts with a single joke. I'm the comedy nerd who's seen more than 2,000 different comedians perform live comedy, and you can find out more about my journey in comedy fandom on my website, thecomedynerd.com. Please also take a moment to like, subscribe, rate, review, and share the podcast. Thank you. My guest this episode is a comedian, a writer, a musician from New York City with a unique combination of sharp storytelling, rap, theatrics, and big infectious melodies. Her show, The Day My Sugar Daddy Dumped Me, has wowed audiences from New York to Edinburgh to London and beyond with its raw honesty and fearless energy. It's comedian Becky Goodman. Why don't we start at the beginning? Was comedy a big influence when you were growing up?
Yeah, I watched, my mom told me I watched obsessively Marx Brothers movies when I was a kid. And she told me that when I was like inconsolable one night and I kept asking for a night at the opera, which is one of the Marx Brothers movies, and nothing else would do. So I think I was really obsessed with movies. I loved watching movies as a kid. My mom made me watch the Carry On movies, which is very random for an American.
Yeah, very much.
To see. But I think I was obsessed with Marx Brothers. That was my first memory of comedy and Harpo, loving Harpo, who's if you listeners don't know, Harpo's the curly-haired member of the Marx Brothers who originated as a vaudeville troupe in New York City in the late 10s and 20s, and then they got movies because they were such a great triple act. And Harpo was a silent clown, and he could play the harp, and that's why he was called Harpo. But he was so funny. Yeah. So I think I was obsessed with movies, and I was very goofy as a kid. I wish I could show you a picture of what I looked like, but suffice to say, I had a comedian's body, from a very young age, and I looked like I was a tomboy for way too long, and I think I focused on fitting in by making people laugh and being silly and goofy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you started to go into the path of being a comedian, did you get any training or anything? Did you start out as a comedian, or did you start out as an actor or musical theatre, that sort of thing?
No. Yeah, I actually didn't ever do any performing until I was 23.
Right.
After college, university for you guys, I didn't know what to do. I had worked on a couple film sets, and because I majored in film, I thought I was going to do movies and stuff like that. And then I didn't know what to do, and I got a job teaching Latin at my old high school randomly, and realized pretty quickly through the year, this is not for me. Because my greatest joy was always being a funny person. And I decided to take an improv comedy class in New York because I'd always wanted to get into performing. And the other thing I loved watching as a kid was Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Oh, yeah.
The U.S. version. So that's with Drew Carey. But Colin Mockery and Ryan Stiles, who were prominently featured on the UK version, were the consistent stars of that show. And I fucking loved. Can you say fucking?
Yeah, so we like.
Oh, I motherfucking loved it. I loved Whose Line. So that must have been in the back of my mind. And I took a class and I immediately was like, I love this, and I got hooked pretty quickly and did improv from 2017 to 2020. I was doing a lot of classes at the People's Improv Theater, and I got on a couple of their house teams of regularly performing groups of improvisers. Yeah. And I loved it. And I did sketch too. I did a couple of sketch shows, and a lot of sketch shows actually. And then I started at the very end to get into musical improv. My friends and I formed this improv group called Band, The Story of Band, which was basically an improvised Spinal Tap, in the sense that it was a mockumentary, and we would be the band that the audience suggested. Yeah. And our first ever show, I asked, what is our band name? And I had this friend who was a little loopy, bless him. And his suggestion was self-inflicted gunshot wound. Oh, Clyde. Anyway, I was really into improv and sketch at that time. And there was a festival, the improv theater that I was training at called the Solo Com Festival, where you do a 20-minute piece. And it's like, a week long of just all different people doing 20 minutes of solo performances. And I was like, I'll just sign up. I have been wanting to do something solo for a while, but I never had. And I said, I'll just sign up. And my friend was encouraging me at the time. And I had a good idea for a title, but I had nothing, no substance, nothing written. So I just signed up with the title, How to Have an Affair Without Really Trying. Yeah. And then I wrote it because I wrote it under pressure, which is great. It's the best way for me to work. Yeah. And then from there, the pandemic happened, obviously, but then I kind of turned more towards individual solo performance.
Yeah. How far did the musical side and the comic side collide? Because I know that you've released music in and of itself, but also I've seen you as a musical comedian.
Yeah.
So when you go from sketch and improv, was music also an important influence early on?
Yeah, I mean, I was keeping that separate for a long time. Like I played the guitar and I started making my own little music tracks on GarageBand on Apple's, built-in music editing software.
That's GarageBand for English people.
Oh, GarageBand. Yeah, sorry, excuse me. GarageBand. I started doing that right after college, in college. And I was working on that privately, separate from my comedy. And then when I formed that musical improv group with my friends, band, The Story of Band, that was like, oh, this is a whole new level of fun. And when I signed up for the Solo Com Festival, I thought, well, it's got to be a musical, you know? And I thought, well, it seemed natural to me to make it a musical. Right. And I'm not sure that I was like, I want to do this. I'm not sure that it was a conscious thought, but it was, it just seemed right. Yeah. Yeah. And then it was because what happens when I write my regular songs, you can take a listen if you search Becky Goodman on Spotify or any streaming platform. When I write regular songs that aren't supposed to be funny, they usually come out lyrics and melody at the same time. And I found that it was the same with writing funny songs. They would come out really, it might take me a really long time to get to the point where my brain let it flow. Right. But it was really easy once I got started to go from start to finish on the song. Yeah. And so I thought, well, this is natural and this is really fun. And you get to explore your voice in ways that you can't. It's a little bit more difficult, or it's not the same as doing regular comedy, because when you're doing musical comedy, you get to choose a genre of your music, which allows you to choose a style of how you express yourself. Yeah. If you're doing like a classic musical song, you can tap into that, that Music Man song, like it starts with a capital P and that rhymes with T and that stands for trouble. You can sort of go there. You can do a rock song. You can do pop. There's a lot of different ways that you can express yourself and ways you can play around comedically when you add music into the mix. Yeah.
So was that it from then on? It's like musical comedy or bust. Did it open up something that maybe sketch and improv didn't, or was that just another string to the bow?
Yeah, I actually found it really hard to feel confident being a musical comedian in New York. And because it feels like you sort of have to play the stand-up game. You have to play the game of being a regular stand-up. And no one really wants to put a musical comedian on a serious club night in New York, mostly. Right. I'm generalizing here. That doesn't mean there's not an opportunity for people to perform as alternate comedians or musical comedians. But it made me feel like I was a solo performer doing my one-woman shows, rather than being a musical comedian who could perform all over the city. Right. And so I felt kind of like a little bit boxed in, like, oh yeah, I'm just doing a song for my show, rather than, oh, I'm a musical comedian writing funny songs. Because every song up until that point was just about my life. And I hadn't ever written a song that was, a funny observational thing or something, like a Flight of the Conchords sort of,
right,
whatever, Fudu Fafa or some funny, just generally funny thing. So I was always just writing from the point of view of things that had happened to me. And that's why I sort of felt like, well, I'm not really doing musical comedy. I'm just taking bits of my show and performing them.
right.
The past 2 years, I felt more confident as like I can perform outside of my show. Like I'm doing my own thing.
Yeah.
Like I have a show. I've written several one-woman shows, but I'm also performing as Becky Goodman in my own songs. So It's taken me a while to feel comfortable in that.
Yeah.
It's really weird, you listeners. You didn't hear what just happened, but Mark kept propositioning me for sex. So that's why we had to switch microphones.
Yeah, you wish. So, okay. Well, yeah, now I'm thrown.
Good, that's what I'm best at.
Yeah.
Keeping people on their toes. I was just saying it was hard I didn't really feel comfortable performing musical comedy like without my show behind me. I felt a little bit like, I'm not a regular stand-up and I don't feel successful as a musical comedian because all of my songs are reliant on my shows. Which I could perform my stuff outside of my show. It makes sense. And I'm writing a lot more stuff that's not to do with my shows.
Right.
But it took me a while to feel like confident in my ability as a performer on my own.
Yeah. But was that because of that influence that you talked about the New York scene sort of being resistant, if you like? Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think I can blame it solely on New York being sort of having a penchant for traditional stand-up comedy.
Right.
I do think most worlds of stand-up comedy favor traditional stand-up at this moment because that's what's most successful on social media. And just generally, that's sort of the old standard that a lot of comedy clubs have relied on. Straight stand-up jokes.
Right. At
least in New York. But I think also here a little bit, not to the extent of New York, but probably there was also some fear of like, oh, can I really just be myself and be a little crazy and do my own thing? And what if I don't have the protection? Because in my mind, I was like, oh, I know my show is strong. I like the writing in my show. And then when you strip that away, you go, oh, I don't have the protection, air quotes, of good writing behind me or a story behind me. So are they going to really be, is the audience going to be down with me? Are they going to like me? They need to see that I'm smart and capable of writing something good. Like I can't just be crazy and silly, Yeah. I don't know. So it's probably a self-image thing too, but also the comedy scene in New York had something to do with it.
Right. Okay.
I think.
So you made a brief comparison there between the New York scene and obviously in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
How far do you find those differences between the scene you've encountered so far around the UK and as opposed to in the US?
Yeah. So I've only been here for a month and a half, listeners. So take my opinion with that knowledge in mind. However, Edinburgh is a little different, but I have done 3 Edinburgh Fringes up till now. And I've performed a bit, a substantial amount in front of UK audiences. Mm-hmm. I would say on the whole, because Britain has a large history of theater built into it and sort of like pantomime and clowning and absurdism. You guys are very fond of absurdism. There is a greater willingness to be open to alternate forms of comedy that aren't just jokes. Yeah. Like a lot of people do characters. A lot of people do silly clowning stuff. A lot of people are absurd. In America, because sometimes in Edinburgh, and even in England, somebody could have a prop. Like I've got a mug, an empty mug, and they'll sort of bring it slowly on stage like this. And the audience will go, ooh, you would never get that kind of reaction in America. I think Britain's they are a more participatory audience in that sense. They're more willing to be open. They're used to being an audience. I also think British people what I found in London is people are out more. Mm-hmm. and they take a chance on stuff more. Like they'll go to a comedy show. Oh, I'll just go to a comedy show.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's going to be fun. I think in New York, sometimes the expectation is I need to be entertained.
Right.
You've better be funny. Not always, but like I paid money for this show. This should be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I found that there's a bit more freedom in the realm of performance here in terms of what comedically is acceptable to do and has a good reaction, and B, that the audience is a little bit more forgiving. I think from the perspective of somebody coming from the US, generalizing, of course, it might seem a little bit easier to get a laugh because your audiences are more willing and open. That doesn't mean it's as good as a good laugh. But New York, New York is, you come in and they've got their arms crossed and they said, I've paid $20 and this better be good,
That's interesting because in my experience and people I've spoken to previously, I would say the opposite was arguable because...
Really?
Yeah, because as I've summarized it on previous episodes, is that US audiences, so it seems, you've been booked to play this venue, they've paid, they expect that you're going to be funny, they assume you will be funny. So they're a lot more supportive and excited and things like that. Whereas in the UK, we're prepared to, we'll go out, but there's loads of comedy shows. So you have to prove why we came to your show kind of thing.
Yeah,
so they start quiet and expect you to prove that you're funny. Whereas in the US, they assume you will be.
Oh, I haven't found that at all, to be honest. I feel like people want to know that they're not as warmed up. They're not as ready for a laugh as they are here. It's my experience, but that's just me.
Maybe it's a New York thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It could be a New York thing. I mean, New York is different. New York is a really tough scene. Like it takes that's why a lot of New York comedians are so good, because it's miserable to navigate the stand-up comedy scene in New York City. Yeah. It's expensive. It's a losing game. It's a guarantee that you will not ever make money. You have to assume you will never make money doing comedy until you get, being paid $10 for a show is inconceivable. Like I've seen, some people advertise, shows here, and the fee is like, the pay is like, sometimes it's £10, sometimes it's £20, sometimes it's £200. Those kinds of opportunities are not really as present. You're not going to get paid. You're going to get shafted. You're going to get fucked. You're going to wake up at 2 a.m. wondering, why am I doing this? Because you just heard a mouse crawl across your floor. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a happy life, and it's very hard, and you really have to be determined to keep at it because it can really be miserable. And New York is not an easy city. Like if things aren't working out for you in your personal life, the city is not necessarily always forgiving. You can't just go sit in a park. You'll sit in a park and some guy will start masturbating on the other side of the park. You know what I mean? It's not a lot of respite in New York. And I say that I was born and raised in New York, so I love the city, but it's very difficult. It's very hard. The thing is, sometimes I've found that British audiences can be very cold for some reason I don't understand. But then after the show, they'll go, oh, I quite enjoyed that. Thank you so much. What the fuck? Then why didn't you fucking laugh? What's wrong with you? I don't know what that's about still, but yeah. It might just be a New York thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's just British Reserve.
Yeah, it's fucking weird. I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. People on the street are so like shocked when you talk to them. It is really a big cultural difference. It's like, I'm not going to fucking murder you, Anyway.
Did you have expectations going into doing comedy and playing these New York venues or playing abroad in the UK? Did you go in thinking, this is the life of a comedian, this is what it means, this is what I'll find? And what surprised you? I don't know that I had very many expectations. I think I found it frustrating in New York doing the open mic circuit, because that's different. That's very different to how things are here. Our open mic circuit is you have to pay to participate. You sign up on the day at the venue. You're paying like $5, maybe $7 to get a 3 to 5 minute slot.
and you are performing to other stand-up comedians and nobody else. There's like no audience. So it's actually a terrible way to gauge how your comedy is going over, because every other stand-up is not going to want to really laugh, and they're trying to come up with a new joke while you're telling yours. So I found myself I knew that being a stand-up in New York was a pretty solitary and miserable business. But you go, after a while, I was like, I can't fucking do this open mic thing. It's so depressing. Yeah. Like, there's got to be another way. There has to be another way. I think I didn't realize how hard it is to get in, like the difference, how hard it is to just get into a club in New York.
Right.
And I thought, oh yeah, I can do that. Like, I can get into a club, but the road is very difficult. Like, you have to either jump through a bunch of hoops for these comedy clubs, or dedicate 3 to 5 years of your life working for them for free before you get a shitty 11 p.m. slot. And then you move up eventually in the next 3 years to like the 9 p.m. And then you're getting paid like maybe $50 a show. And all the time before that, you're not getting paid. I mean, there's and this is like an old system that these clubs have had a stronghold over the city with since the 70s and 80s. And it's not really viable anymore because of the age that we're in. This is not true for every comedy club in New York. There are some independent comedy clubs. There's Grove 34, that's run by a comedian. There's QED that's run by a comedian. I'm not speaking about those clubs. I'm speaking about like the industrial clubs. The Cellar is its own thing. The Comedy Cellar is its own thing. But you have to get 3 recommendations from people who are already passed at the Cellar. That means that they're a regularly performing comedian. Yeah. That's like the final stage. But for all these other clubs, like, you really have to, like, I guess I didn't realize how miserable that thought was to me, that I would have to like give my time and performance to these sad clubs that are holding on to the stronghold that they had of the past. And like this system that just everybody was sad, and it didn't feel like you actually got to really express yourself on stage. It felt like, well, I have to prove myself. I have to be funny so that the people will like me. So the club will say I'm a good comedian, So I guess I felt like, wow, I didn't realize how limited my path was. Like, I felt like all those doors were shut because I was doing musical comedy. That's where I had the most fun.
Right.
So I guess, I thought I would be able to like break through. That's the other thing. I thought, I'll be able to break through and be a star. I'll break through because I'm so unique. And then it's like, actually, no, fuck you. You know how many people want to do what you want to do? That's that's what you get faced with, Yeah. So that's a long-winded answer to your question. Sorry.
So what brought you to the UK then?
Well, it's a few different reasons. One is I've grown up all my life in New York City.
Yeah.
I was feeling like it would be nice to move somewhere else and experience life in a different place, because I've never done that. And I realized that, a lot of people move to New York to pursue their dream. And there's a huge amount of pressure and high stakes on them to fulfill their dream. And I had perhaps taken the city a little bit for granted, in the sense that it was my home, and I never had to discover how difficult it was to move to a new place and pursue something with the fire under me that I don't live here. I got to make it here. And I usually work well under pressure and under a deadline and with something looming over my head. So that was the first part. I said, I want to explore someplace new. I've enjoyed performing in the UK because I'd been over here about, 3-4 times in the past 3 years, and I enjoyed it. I'd enjoyed the audiences. I really loved doing the Fringe. And the other part is like the political situation in the United States is fucked up. It's fucked up. Everybody listening, I know every time I say this to a British person, they go, well, it's actually quite bad over here as well. I don't know if you noticed. There's not much better over here. Well, no, we've got like the SS, we've got ICE. We've got people getting kidnapped and deported and disappearing into the ether, AKA exported to Venezuelan prison camps. Like we are in the throes of fascism over there, I personally think. So I was like, well, probably be a good thing to get out of there, for now.
Yeah.
So that's the 2-part answer.
Yeah. You said about you visited here before playing Edinburgh. How has that festival experience been for you? Because with the different shows over the different years since you've been performing there.
Yeah. So the first year was a fucking nightmare. Oh my God. It was miserable. I was doing a double bill with my friend, my comedian friend named Sean Conrad. We were doing 30 minutes each. Mm-hmm. But we had we just said, we want to do this festival. This festival seems so cool, man. Let's do it. Let's try it, man. We knew nothing. We went over, we weren't in the program, either online or in print. So we weren't registered on the site. Mm-hmm. We had signed up for a venue that is mostly used for theater performances and is not at all conducive to comedic performances. It was out of the way. There was no bar. There was no reason for anybody to be there other than they were going to see a show. Mm-hmm. It was in a, transformed classroom where we could hear the other shows happening, and nobody knew who we were and no one gave a fuck. And so every day was spent flyering our asses off. I think we flyered in 2 parts. We would go in the morning. And at that time, I had a costume that is a, replica of the female genitalia. It's the vulva. Mm-hmm. So I was standing outside in my costume with my friend, mm-hmm. and on the corner, and we would flyer in the morning. People would walk by and take pictures, but they didn't give a shit about our show. Maybe they would take a flyer. And then we would go sit in silence at Moss Kitchen, wondering why we had done this, get some lunch, and go back out and flyer again, and then do the show. And there were a couple times where we performed the show there were 2 times where we performed our shows to 1 person in the crowd, and then there were many other times where it was 3 people. I think our biggest audience was 10 for the whole run. Mm. And we were, it was pretty miserable by towards the end of the run, we were like, this sucks, this sucks. We lost money, but it's very hard in Edinburgh because, eventually people on the street, they give you this look of like, why are you even talking to me? I don't care who you are, because it's so oversaturated and there's so much to do. It's like, yeah, why would you care about a girl standing in a vagina costume and her friend who's got a guitar in his hand? Why the fuck would you care about them? I get it.
See, I would go and see that show.
Yeah, I know. That's because you're, you've seen a ton of comedy and you would be interested in something like that. Other people are like, well, I'm going to see, blah, blah, blah. But it was pretty demoralizing. At the same time, I think both of us knew this is a really good challenge. And this is really, and I was sharing a bed with my friend, another friend of mine who was doing the festival, and so and then she's doing her red light therapy at night when I'm trying to fall asleep. And I'm like, I'm tired. I just want to, and she was having a pretty good run and we were miserable. My friend Sean and I, I'm like, oh, can you stop doing your fucking red light therapy when I'm trying to go to bed? Anyway, the first run was pretty tough, but at the same time, there was something in me going, okay, I'm going to do this again.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's sadomasochism or what, if I hate myself, which is probably true. But there was something about the challenge of performing every day. You knew it was going to make you a better comedian. Mm. And of course, you have this dream of something's going to happen at this festival. Someone's going to notice me. I'm going to get an agent. If you ever come into the Edinburgh Festival with an idea like that in your head, you're only going to have a bad time. Your expectation needs to be tailored to realistic standards. I want to improve my show. I want to get on a compilation show. I want to have a good time. I want to try to sell out 1 date.
Yeah.
You need to have more realistic expectations. Anyway, the second time I did it, it was a lot better. It was just me. I did the PBH Free Fringe, which really helped financially because it wouldn't have been viable for me to rent out a theater. I felt like that went so much better than my first time. I sold out 2 of those shows, I think. I really enjoyed it. And then, this year was really good too. I think it was probably my best one yet. I was sweating a lot more this year. I sweat a lot this year. I mean, I was peeling off my clothes after every show. It's disgusting. Sorry. Really gross. It was a real hot summer and there's no AC and it was a hot room.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
But you had more fun.
I had more fun. Yeah, I had more fun.
Yeah.
And it is a great, because you get like almost no place else are you going to get audience in to see your stuff every night. I mean, it's like, really difficult to pull an audience. And this is a great opportunity to get people it's the best thing for performing in front of strangers to see where your comedy is at, because they have they don't know you. They don't, especially if you're new act and they're taking a chance on you, it's really good for your performance and to see how you're getting on and how your show is. Because, I mean, once you get a name for yourself, it is a blessing and curse because people are predisposed to like your stuff because they're like, oh, I'm going to see, Becky Goodman, or I'm going to see like Zane Zawainabo or whatever. Zane Zawainabo?
Oh, yeah.
He's famous. He's a Czech comedian. But they're biased. They know you and they expect that they're already liking you. But if you're nobody, then you have to go, okay, are they going to like me for who I am?
Yeah.
And I find that very useful.
Yeah. So I met you on the street. I was there with seeing a couple of friends in the venue that you were playing.
Yeah.
And I knew that I liked you immediately when I met you. So I had to come and see the show. And it was a full house and it was a fantastic show. I see a lot of comedy. I schedule my comedy for the Fringe months in advance. And I was so happy that I took a chance because now I have Becky Goodman on my roster for names to look out for.
Oh, thank you, Mark. That's very kind. Thank you so much.
But,
and thanks for taking a chance on the show. I appreciate it.
It's a great show. Well, let's talk about the show.
Yeah. Let's talk about it, baby.
So what's the synopsis? What's the elevator pitch, as you Americans would say?
We're actually taking the stairs in this scenario. The elevator's out of commission and we're on the stairs, so it's the 99th floor. The show is called The Day My Sugar Daddy Dumped Me, and it's a musical comedy show about my real life relationship with a New York City Italian American sugar daddy. With whom I had a very strange relationship because he gave me $16,000 in a brown paper bag and we never had sex. And I kind of fell in love with him. So the show is about what happened before I entered that relationship. I was very hell-bent on having affairs with married men. So it's about my first relationship, having affairs, and winding up dating a sugar daddy and that sort of very strange relationship. Yeah. And by the way, I'm doing it at the Bill Murray in London on December 3rd. You're in London. Any of you out there?
So you talk about it as a true story, which of course, we accept, we know this, but how much of it is, and how much of you, is it an exaggeration? How much of it is improvised? How much of it is actual reality, and how much is augmented for humor?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people ask me that. They're like, is that true? I'm like, yes, it is true. It's hard doing comedy. People often go, this is true. This is true. It's, and that kind of makes the audience go, is it true? But, I'd say 90% of the show is accurate and real. There's a couple people in the show that I've smushed together into one person, a couple of experiences that have amalgamated into one person. Yeah. But all the stuff about my first relationship, I don't think there's hardly any exaggerated moments there. Everything there is true. And then I do sort of a bit about, a bunch of guys that I had affairs with that are, hyperbolized and exaggerated for comedic effect. But I tried to make it so that the absurdity of the scenes reflected the absurdity of my life at the time. Like I was trying to sort of punch it up because when I look back on that time of my life, I was like, I was crazy and I was going down a rabbit hole. So I just tried that section of the show where I do sort of an exaggerated clowny bit about 3 guys that I had an affair with. That's the most exaggerated part for humor. Yeah. And that's a little bit, there in that part of the show, I have a little bit of room for improvisation because it's heightened and it's funny. Yeah. And I wanted to put that in the show because I like doing absurd stuff like that. And, I wanted to show that I can do stuff like that. Because before I didn't have that. It was very storytelling stand-up, musical comedy. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, what do I like doing? I like acting like an idiot. So can we put some of that in there? Yeah. So that's the only part that's exaggerated. Everything else is pretty much exactly how it happened. Maybe the chronology is a little bit moved around, but that's just for the story. Yeah.
But it's a cohesive piece. Like you say, there's music in it. There's a bit of storytelling. Some of it's a bit weird and out there, but it all blends together. It's not like, oh, okay, we're going to do a silly bit now. Okay, stop. And now we're going to do a song. It is an overarching story.
Yeah. It's like, I wanted it to still be a show that made sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've been thinking, should I add more to it? Because the one part of the show, the section of the show that's about my sugar daddy, some people have pointed out, rightly so, that maybe it could use a little bit more developing. But it's like, oh God, you only have an hour and you want to do all this stuff. Yeah. So I've been thinking lately, should I cut some stuff and rearrange it and show a little bit more of that sugar daddy relationship? Because people are like, that's crazy. How did it happen? Like, how did you get into this? Because we dated for like almost a year. And people have a lot of questions because it's a very strange relationship that not a lot of people have engaged with or know about, or they're curious to see how it actually works. And so I kind of condense a lot of that for the sake of time. And it might be beneficial to expand on that and cut some other bits from the show.
Right. Yeah. What makes you happiest then? Because you're involving all these different things, as I say, music and improv and absurdism and storytelling. And obviously this has taken a lot of writing. So what part of that process gives you the most joy? Are you happiest sitting and writing or is it the performing? And when it's performing, is it making up things on the spot or is it the music?
Yeah, performing is the most fun.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly. The thing that's I really love improvising. And there's a part of the show where I get an audience member involved. And that part is really fun for me because I think it's fun to just react to another person and to improvise. And I don't improvise. I grew up, I cut my teeth on improvisation. So it's really fun to do that. Yeah. What's also really rewarding is when you can feel the audience with you, like traveling with you through the emotions of the story in the show.
Yeah.
That's like a longer payoff, that's like what they were with me. Like, some people have messaged me after and saying, I really was touched by that. I feel like I haven't seen, like I felt represented because I've done stuff similar. It's not exactly the same. That's a kind of deeper, long game satisfaction. In the moment when you can get a laugh that's a surprise or that you didn't know it was going to come out of your mouth or you're playing around.
Yeah.
Those moments are really fun. It's different kind of happiness and satisfaction, but performing is definitely the best. I mean, I write stuff so I can perform it. It's nice to write something fun. It's fun to have a really good idea and translate it to the page, but performing is the best.
Yeah. Is it in those long form doing the hour where you get to really tell a full story, or do you like being on the bill with other comedians and be able to do sort of punchier spots and have that collaboration element?
Yeah, I mean, I really like to doing shorter spots is fun because I feel like sometimes I'm really intense. Like I'm really like, I'm sorry, I'm leaning into the camera and really raising my eyelids and staring. I like the pauses. I like playing around with timing. I like engaging with the audience a lot. That's a different kind of thing. Like when Mark came to see a mixed musical comedy bill that I was on, as well as some other very talented musical comedians. And I love being really stupid and playing around, which is what I was trying to do in that bill. Just, experimenting, being stupid, being silly, playing around, finding different moments to punctuate. Doing a longer form show is a different beast for me, at least, because it's like my show is sort of like a whole story and a whole timeline. So it's very different to just performing individually. You can't get the same. And in fact, like after Edinburgh, I did my first show after Edinburgh was just like 10 minutes on a comedy show that my friend, City Comedy Club, that my friend David Anthony runs, and he's great. City Comedy Club, shout out. But and David and Mo. But it was 10 minutes, and I felt like I bombed because I was so used to doing a full hour that the 10-minute reaction of the audience, I was like, oh no, I'm not good anymore. It's just different.
Yeah. Well, you talked there about being on that bill with many other talented musical comedians. I mean, how are you as an audience member? Are you one of those people who sits and then can enjoy comedy, with someone who goes to watch comedy? Or do you see it differently? Do you see it with an analytical comedian's eye?
Definitely. I mean, I was definitely having a hard time putting away my analytical mind at that show. Because, obviously, if you're doing one art form and then there's 4 other people doing the same thing as you go, okay, are they doing the same thing? Do I need to change anything? It's very hard to put away that section of your brain that's comparing you to other people. But it's not really useful to have that on all the time, that part of your brain. I still love going to see comedy, and like I went to this comedy show in Peckham the other day. It was a mixed bill, and part of my mind was on analytical mode. But then, this comedian Spencer Jones came on, and I was laughing. I thought it was so stupid, like when it's in a good way, in a really smart, fun way. But it is harder to just sit back and enjoy comedy because you're doing so much of it. And if you're on a mixed bill, you're seeing so much of it, but I always try when I'm on a show to watch everybody, because I think it's really, it's respectful. I don't always do it. I can't always do it, but especially if I'm in a new environment like here, I really do try to stay for the whole show, because A, it's respectful. B, you get a sense of what the audience is like. And C, it's just good to see other people's stuff. But yeah, I mean, I can still, it's hard though. It is different once you step onto the stage and that's what your life is. It's hard to just enjoy like somebody who doesn't do performance does, I think.
Yeah. What about the variation in location? So like we've talked a little bit about playing in places in the New York versus playing in the UK. We've talked about playing at the Fringe and playing in London clubs. But also you've been tour support for Nina Conti, playing the big theatres going around the country.
Yes.
How does that compare between playing a mixed bill club lineup, a festival solo show, and then being on the tour?
Yeah, well, I should specify, I'm not doing tour support for her every single night. I've only done, I did on her last tour, I did one date as tour support. The rest of the time I play guitar. I'm in the show, every show, but I'm playing guitar,
Yeah.
And this tour, I'm doing 2 slots for her.
Yeah.
The other support comedians are really wonderful. Lily Phillips, Rob Rouse, and Joe Caulfield. I mean, I love Joe Caulfield's and Lily. Lily's great. And Rob. Yeah. All of them. But I'm thinking of Joe in particular because I saw her Edinburgh show and I really loved it. She's just so sharp and she wastes no time.
Yes.
But anyway, I'll tell you, when I did a date for her on her last tour at Southend-on-Sea, and it was my first time performing in a big, big theater. I think it had like 1,200 people. And it was my first time doing tour support. And that's a pretty big leap from never having done an opening slot for a big comedian and never having played a theater that size.
Yeah.
I thought it went terribly. I thought it went terribly, but it's a different beast. No one knows there's a support act. Everybody's there to see Nina. They're not there to see you. I'm not casting aspersions. This is just the reality of doing tour support.
Yeah, of course.
And they're like, I'm looking at my watch. Okay. So they don't give a fuck. And, your job is to warm them up. Your job is not to be the best thing they've ever seen. Your job is to just warm them up and get them ready for a show. And I think I sort of wanted to be really, really good instead of focusing on what my job was. And as a result, I felt that I bombed. Recently, I watched the tape back and it wasn't that bad. But, you have to adjust your standards. And also when you're playing a bigger venue, the pattern of laughter is just different.
Yeah.
It's like, I almost prefer doing a small room where I can see everybody. Because when you're doing bigger rooms, you're like, the audience becomes this unified beast and their laughter. It's just like, I feel like Hercules fighting the fucking Hydra, It's like, oh, this is a big one that I'm up against. It feels very different. So I'm kind of shitting myself for the Leeds show that's coming up for Nina. But I think now that I've done one, and this is a smaller theater, the one in Leeds, which is like, still 600, which is like, I would never play 600. I have to say, and by the way, Nina Conti is just an amazing, amazing performer, extremely talented, a wonderful person. And she's like offered to help and support me so much in all these different ways without my even asking. So I have to, applaud Nina, and I can't recommend her enough as a performer and a person. But I just have to say that because she's really meant a lot to me as a mentor figure who's a woman in comedy who's been doing it since before, doing an alternative act since before women in comedy were a cool thing to be, So I have to give a lot of kudos to her. But it is a different experience, and it's really intimidating. And you have to sort of, I think the key is adjusting your expectations. Like, I am not here to win this crowd over and to be the best thing they've ever seen. I'm here to warm them up for a show that they're paid to see. Yeah. Then you can adjust your performance accordingly. Yeah.
Well, I've seen Nina play tiny little London clubs, so you all got to try out.
No, I mean, like she's good anywhere. Yeah, she's good anywhere. But the fact that she is so comfortable in a big, big place, it's like when you hear those laughs roar throughout, an 1,800 seater, it's something special. It's really special. It's fun to be in the presence of. You're like.
Well, what have been your best and worst experiences then so far in comedy? And I don't mean necessarily gigs, but I mean, what's been part of that journey in comedy?
Oh man. There've been some pretty sad gigs. I remember one particular, this is just sort of more emblematic. We'll start with the worst and we'll go to the best. How about that?
Yeah.
One particularly sad moment was at an open mic in New York City on the Lower East Side in a converted basement. You just feel that there've probably been murders in that room, right?
Statistically, probably.
Statistically, likely, yeah. And the environment was so bleak. And at the time, I was trying to maybe do something new. I was trying to really lean into doing musical comedy, despite being in a mostly traditional stand-up world. Yeah. And these open mics, statistically, are mostly guys. There was a guy on before me, and before me, he did a rape joke. He did like a joke about how girls on Hinge, it seems like they want to get raped. And it's like, you go up after that, and I was just angry. I was angry at that guy. It is, whatever, like people are allowed to say what they want. You're allowed to find their stuff funny or not funny. That's really up to you as the audience member. I found that joke to be distasteful and unfunny. Yeah. And I was so furious. I came on stage with this really angry energy. And I could feel myself like sort of going all over the place, because it's not just that one guy. It's that guy who's representing a lot of experiences that people outside of being white dudes can sometimes feel when they're up against a whole room of white dudes. Like, that's just the reality. You know, I'm sure it happens for trans people, gay people, women, Black people, people of color. You're always going to feel a little bit like I'm in a room full of the other, you know?
Yeah.
So I was channeling that guy, just lit a switch in me, and I was so furious. And I got on stage and I looked at all these people in the audience, all these other dudes waiting to go up who had their arms folded, who weren't paying attention to me, who were looking at their phones. And I had my guitar and my amp, and someone was just like, I was just trying to riff or something, but I could feel the anger in me. Mm-hmm. And I think someone was just like, some dude just said, play a song. And it was such, I felt so bad after that experience. Because it just represented everything that is difficult to battle against when you're trying to come up in the comedic world.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever forget that open mic, because it was so fucking miserable. And it was just like, oh God. Anyway, that was a low moment. That was a low moment for sure. And I mean, there's plenty of times where you just look around and you go, oh my God, I'm broke and I'm still doing this and I'm not successful. What am I doing? I imagine that many people who are pursuing a dream that's not lucrative sometimes feel that way. I mean, honestly, like there are two moments recently where I've really found myself going, whoa, like this is great. One is touring with Nina Conti has just been, it's been great. You know, like, yeah. I think we really get on well. I mean, she's a good friend of mine. And it is something special. It feels like we're on one of those on the road movies with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. It's like traveling and we're being silly and stupid in the car to pass the time. And it's really fun. And it's like, this is my job right now. And that's a wonderful thing. And she's just so lovely. And we've been touring. I've been her guitarist now for like 3 years. There's another great comedian who does sometimes play guitar for her on her show, Dan Lees, who's a fantastic clown and really good musical comedian.
Yeah.
So I'm not exclusively the guitarist, but we have been performing together for a while. And in New York, she played New York, and I was with her in New York. Mm-hmm. So that's been a real highlight. And then I was on a compilation show at the Bill Murray, and I was just sitting in the green room with these other comedians who are all very talented. Red Richardson and Alistair, I forget his last name. He's got long flowing red hair.
Beckett King.
Yeah.
And
Sakiza and Barry Ferns.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm also in the green room. I'm also a comedian. I'm really doing this, because you feel a lot of imposter syndrome. But I thought, no, like I'm on the bill. Like I wasn't on the bill that night because I wasn't advertised, but I filled in for a dropout. Doesn't matter. But I felt a real sense of like, whoa, I'm really a comedian. I'm really in the green room with these other very, very talented comedians. And for the first time, I sort of felt like, oh, I'm not just sitting in as an observer who's like, oh, what about me? Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry. Could I get it? Oh, sorry. You feel, I think I felt that way a lot. And I really was like, no, I'm doing it. So those two moments recently have felt really like some of the best in my time. Of course, there's tons of isolated moments where I've had a great show or, a great interaction, or I've been hanging out with friends doing things together. But those are the ones that come to mind right now.
Yeah. Do you think you've learned one lesson up to this point that sort of informs what you do going forward, or something that you would...
One lesson. Come on.
Can you single out one lesson from the many? Something that you would say your younger up-and-coming self.
I mean, it's going to sound so corny, right?
The best
but
lessons
cliches, yeah, cliches are cliches because they're the ultimate truths and nobody wants to hear them, but they are really important.
Yeah.
I mean, just lean into being yourself. Don't give a fuck what other people think. I mean, maybe
a little.
your mom or something. But, in the sense that, like, just because you're feeling like an outsider doesn't mean that your style of performing isn't valid or good, or what people want to see. Just lean into discovering your own voice, the things that make you laugh the most. Because, like, the moment you try to be something for somebody else is the moment you take all the joy out of your own performance, I think. Every time I've tried to, like, be more stand-up-y and write a joke that I think is going to go over well with the crowd, it's like, I don't find that fun. I feel like I'm wearing a suit of somebody else who's trying to do something, wearing a bodysuit like Hannibal Lecter trying to be a stand-up. So I would say just lean into your own artistic voice, and also just, do things for the joy of doing them. Do only things that you want to do. Obviously, there's things in life you like working, having a fucking job, that you don't want to do, that you have to do. But if it's your choice in your work, don't do something you don't want to do. Don't write something you don't really want to write, because you're never going to find your joy and your own success, whatever that means, if you're doing something that doesn't feel quite like you, or that doesn't bring you joy. I think.
So how can people find out all about you and where they can come and see you performing?
Well, Mark, you can go to www.beckygoodman.com for a fun time. You can see my upcoming shows. You can learn about me, and you can email me. Or you can go to my socials at Becky Good Times on Instagram and TikTok. But yeah, beckygoodman.com has all my upcoming shows. And I'd love for people to come. I'm really trying to pack out the Sugar Daddy show at the Bill Murray in December. So that's what I've been working on lately.
So then my final question, of course, is always the same. It is the title of the show. Becky, how would you sum up comedy in a nutshell?
Jesus. The first thing that comes to mind, being a kid. Honestly, I think, like, all the things that make me laugh the most and the things that I find the most funny and the things that I get the most joy out of doing is sometimes just like accessing that stupid part of you that found the utmost joy in being a kid and laughing at the things that kids laugh at. Like, it's so freeing to return to that space. So I would say just, like, being able to access your inner child and your sense of play, being an idiot. Comedy in a nutshell is being an idiot in many senses. You're an idiot for not getting a job. You're an idiot on stage. You're an idiot in your outside life, because that gives you the best stories to tell on stage. So maybe being an idiot is a good answer.
Becky, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes, for me too, Mark. Thank you.